Atop of the morning, my fellow peasants, welcome to another video. This particular video is mostly going to be a pull from that cool preview that we got from Final Fantasy 16 yesterday. Incredible showing. Every detail of 16 that I'm seeing so far just inspires more and more confidence. And I found a little section, a little interview at the end. If you were in the stream, you saw it, you heard me waffle it. This video is going to be a more condensed, cut down version of that. I do recommend though, even if you were in that stream, perhaps still watch this video and watch it to the end, just to give you context for what's going to be upcoming next, which is going to be the biggest face mask ripoff of 16 so far, I believe. The next video coming after this one here, which this is just going to be a tee up of the themes, give you guys a real understanding of some of the possibilities, the potentials. Of course, none of this is set in stone and absolute, and Square Enix could still subvert even my expectations. I mean, 15 did it, not in a good way. I'm hoping 16, if it does end up prove me wrong, it does it because it transcends even higher than I'm thinking. But guys, I'm waking up so freaking excited because what's going to come off the back end of this video, so watch this one to the end, what's coming afterwards is going to be my 10-minute biggest, juiciest, most fully rounded theory of what's happening in the 16 story. There's not going to be big spoilers here because I know some of you guys, you don't want to have all the things exposed with 16. This isn't what these videos are. This is just laying a roadmap of some of the thematic ties, the references. And I don't think it will spoil too much. I don't think I have the capacity to, because honestly, they've kept so much of 16 under wraps. Like the bits they have shown us, they're very elusive, they're very ambiguous, and I love that because it's just leading to the mystery of what's this story going to be, what's happening. But I think what we do know, we can make a lot of assumption towards, and yeah, a big one of those is going to be demonology, it's going to be Gnosticism. I mostly was looking in the Islamic and the Christian stories, of which there are a lot of connections. These two religions share a tremendous amount of similarity. Some of the stories shared, the creation stories, but Gnosticism sits on a very different cusp of it. They look at everything very differently. That the world we are in, and the Old Testament story of Diabolos, the demiurge, that we are in a world of evil, one that was cast off by the grand goddess, or created by her, should I say. Created and cast off, aborted into the world, her emotions, her darkness, her desire to create gods of her own. And we go to 16, the mother crystal, the creating of God. My hands are actually shaking with anticipation. I love this. We're back in the rabbit hole. I'm here. I want you guys to jump down with me. So yeah, follow this video through. It links to a lot of stuff I've talked about previously, but I do believe that Clive has been betrayed by his mother, or at least who he thinks is his mother, Abel, who we had shown to us in one of the previous 16 showings. She is described as traitorous, and there's a significant person in the Old Testament story, the Old Testament god, Diabolos. He was cast off by his own mother. He was thrown out of the pantheon of divinity, and ever since that moment has been on a mad revenge arc, very similar to Clive. He's seen as a demon, one of the greatest primordial evils of the biblical story, but simply because of what he was. And he brought about the world that we are in, the world of materialism, of worldliness, of a big illusion. We are not supposed to be here, according to the Gnostics. And that this is all essentially one big illusion keeping us trapped, and it all centered around when a mother made a dark, dark choice. And to think with robed hooded guy, if he could be the son of the mother crystal system, if he was the one who was cast out, just like we have Ifrit, he's not in the pantheon with the other summons. And I know all of this is going to sound absolutely bonkers, but this is what the Final Fantasy Peasant channel is about. Comment, like, and subscribe if you vibe any of this, if these kind of religiosity and mythology stories are really what are a fascinating part of the Final Fantasy story. I've always loved how they weave and tie and connect, and it's always been a big central part of this channel here. And I've already said too much. I'm already casting out little tendrils of spoilers, but if anyone does know any Gnostic stories or Old Testament or Judaism, Islamic stories, if you found any sort of references and connections, I would love to know in the comment section below, because that's really going to tee up for the video that comes after this. I think over the course of this next month, 1 month left until Final Fantasy 16, we can really go deep into the tunnel and really feel that excitement as we traverse through this new fantasy experience, things getting debunked, things getting confirmed. Either is always titillating as hell to me. But yeah, thank you for clicking into this video. I hope you enjoy it. I think it's going to add a lot of groundwork to some of your understanding or thinking about what 16 could be about, and yeah, I would just love to keep building up. Anyway, the context for this upcoming video and what we were covering during this stream came from an Easy Allies interview where they asked the 16 team a question: what summons would you have liked to have made in the game that didn't? They gave a few interesting answers, and you'll see the rest. Onto the video. Our players have only played 14, but we want to do summons that were iconic to the series, that no matter what other Final Fantasy you've played, you're going to recognise by most people. And so thinking back to what's the icon that always comes out first, it's Ifrit. And so we start with Ifrit, and then moving on there. Yeah, Rama's always there. Garuda's always there. Garuda always there? Garuda hasn't been in that many. Am I tripping nuts? Yeah, just some random ass enemy. What in the Decheo statue? A regular and friendly enemy, just in 9. A nothing burger. Yeah, Garudas were nothing burgers in 10. One of the 8 celestial avatars. That sounds sleeping god. Well, that sounds pretty significant. The boss, 12. And yeah, a nothing burger in 13. Oh, what you're saying, Yoshi? Garuda's always there. He tripping. He's smoking some of that ether peace pipe. One that I really wanted to get in, but wasn't able to, would have been Alexander. But then we stopped and thought about it. Alexander's all about time and being able to reverse it. You can't have that in a game like this. Yeah, I mean, like if Rosaria Castle came to life, some bizzle, like Alexander is that kind of summon you kind of have to build plot around. Unless you hope Estime. Arc from 9. Ooh, the one that's shaped like a plane. Koji Fox, for me, I would have loved to have Diablos in it, because I just love Diablos. It's my favourite. Yo, Diablos confirmed not in it. Holy shit, Koji is confirmed. So that creature thing that looks very Diablos in the box isn't Diablos. Ooh. Ooh. What is it? Just some sort of other demon then? Some other demonic type being? I mean, obviously that thing must be... Because my theory was that this was some sort of merge between a Diablos but also Zodiac, some sort of chaos, like another form of chaos. We've had so many different forms of chaos. Yeah, this. Because yeah, if you look at this, it's got the halo, it's got some white wings beneath it, and that all just looked very Diablos, Hydaelyn-esque, you know, whatever this mother crystal, this mother deity that Sambriques worships, they've got a halo, the summon's got a halo, I've got this, you know, my whole running theory. So it made a lot of sense that, you know, an overbearing mother was stifling the world of Valisthea, and that Annabelle is overbearing on Joshua and stifling him, and that we'd get these reflections, and then, you know, obviously Zodiac comes along and boots, doesn't boot the mother crystal out, obviously, because Zodiac's the bad boy in 14. But I was like, are they going to roll reverse? Are they going to make Clive the Zodiac, booting the mother crystal system out? And to do that, does he essentially have to kind of become a Zodiac, you know, demonic-like, I thought Diablos-like creature? Because he's already an Ifrit, so he's already a demon. Would he, like, scale up? So this has to be chaos. Yeah, maybe. What if that's Zodiac? I really think it is. Like I said, I do think that 16 is a pseudo retelling of 14 with all the roles reversed. I think that's also kind of cool if you think about how 14 works with icons. You've had like characters like Lakshmi and Asura who want to incense with ether. They gift their ether to their cults so that they gain favor and worship. And I really thought, and I still think, that the mother crystal, like maybe it's just a saying more than a literal thing, but what if there is some like goddess that wants to incense the world? And just because there were gods, you know, when man fought the gods, and I was like, how did humans get the power of the icons? Was there one singular female god of all those collective of gods, if the gods are literal, that wanted to become the one deity? And therefore she gave ether to humans so that they could wield the power of the icons, so that they could fight the gods. And that's what we got in the cosmogony art. Cosmogony of them fighting. Yeah, she's kind of enslaved this world. It all kind of checks out thematically. In Before Yu-Gi-Oh! Sprite named the goddess Eos. Man, if I'm getting Eos punked again, I've got to be so sweet. That freaking Eos stuff. They changed that story in 15. Eos was a deity. Like when they changed that statue was actually Arden's girlfriend. That was a bunch of bullshit, man. Bunch of boo. You go to the mountain range at Pitios and you see Eos's wings and Ifrit's swords. What if they're purposely throwing us off track and Diabolos is? So similar to 6, where the Warring Triad lent them power and creatures making them espers. Yes. This is what I think. That idea, at least, that a goddess deity gave ether to the planet is very backed up by Sambrique. You've got the goddess deity with a sword. There's a dragon. It looks like she's going to smite the dragon. You've got all that misty, which I think is like ether, sort of descending on the land. It's cool. Regardless, whichever way this goes, I just hope it's rich. I just hope we get some like Fabula Nova Crystallis levels of richness. They was watching your videos just to dispute your theories. It felt like that at times, man. Just to spite me. Could it be throwing us off? I doubt it. But I still think Clive's going to become a demon. I'm sticking to that at least. Again, there's a red dot up in the sky. In the 7 Jinn kings, there was a story in Islamic tradition, in the Quran, there were 7 Jinn kings that ruled 7 nations. Each Jinn ruled a nation. We have 7 kingdoms in Final Fantasy 16. One of the kind of Jinns that existed were Marids. Marids were giant-like creatures of kaiju scale that, while they had that much power, they were able to be manipulated by humans into their various whims. Does this not sound like 16? Now, of those 7 Jinn kings, one of them is the OG Ifrit. I can't remember his name. Iblis, that's it. Iblis, there's kind of dispute whether or not he was an Ifrit or just commanded legions of them. But Iblis was kind of the main demonic Jinn in the Islamic tale. And that story is, and he was the one who tempted Adam. He hated Adam in the story of Adam and Eve. That also exists in Islamic law, and he hated them because he saw them as just a disgusting form of the creator. The Christian version of that is Samael. Samael, he was there at the Garden of Eden. He was the one who tempted Eve and banged her and had twins. One of them was evil. One of them was called Cain. Well, he had a mark on his face, the mark of Cain. And this is so cool. This is so juicy. So you have those tales, and the Samael also, coincidentally, when you go to the 7 Jinn King story, Samael is listed on there as one of the archangels as part of one of the Jinn kingdoms, and its zodiac and planetary constellation is Mars. We have a red dot up in the sky in 16. The backdrop of 16 story is that there's a fall of man. And I just can't help but think that there's something in all of that, and how Clive plays a role. Like I could see it potentially as like Clive isn't going to become the demon himself. You know, the Samael Ifrit Jinn figure in this that brings about the ruination of man. Although there's even argument about that in Christian and Islamic stories on whether or not Samael is actually bad. There's a lot that says he isn't, and that because I think he's the left hand of God, and Michael is the right hand, and they say that he basically does a necessary evil, and God loves him for it because he's what adds contrast to the world. So he's a necessary evil. And what's really cool about all of this, guys, all of this, that this Samael is going to be in 16 thematically, is that Samael's name translates to poisoner. Poison. Now think about that. Because Ifrit in this game has always been getting suppressed by who? The Iron Kingdom. And what do the Iron Kingdom believe about ether? They believe that it is a poison.
Oh, interesting. Basically, like those who are protected by the crystals, like the ether, is actually like souls that are tarnished with like poison. Like ether is poison that tarnishes the souls.
So the idea that the Iron Kingdom, obviously, things get changed over centuries and thousands of years of story retelling, but I think that the Iron Kingdom are right. I think that them trying to suppress and create this religious dogmatic society, it was a necessary, essential evil for keeping what they knew. They knew they were keeping a much darker evil at bay. And I feel like when the attack on Rosaria happened, so humanity made a play for immortality, that's what unlocked what had always been locked away. And that's what Red Hooded Guy is. And that is essentially the Abel, that is the Cain. Clive is the Abel to the Cain in this story. But we're going to be seeing this evil through Clive because he's attached to it. And what's really cool about the Cain and Abel story, I've said this before, you probably have heard me re-saying this, is that Cain, he gets branded and he gets sent out into the wilderness and he is escorted by a dog and a serpent. Torgal, and we had obviously in that early. Do we still have that little Midgard Soma thing? I feel like that's been an abandoned idea now. In that early artwork we had Clive and we had the little Drake thing stood next to him. I feel like that's now gone. But either way, a serpentine figure now switched to Torgal. You have all of the themes there. Samael, aka Hillel, is the original name of Lucifer, and in Gnosticism is associated with the demiurge or Yaldabaoth. Yes, and Yaldabaoth was he was born from a goddess, right? Yaldabaoth, but he came out serpentine and gross. She was horrified by him, and I can't help but feel like Robed Hooded Guy, is he potentially going to be a cast off fallen son of what other mother deity is? And therefore, because that's in some way infused into Clive, in his psyche, his consciousness, this is the power that he is also manifesting. This is part of what is motivating Clive to end the Mother Crystal's reign. It's actually a mother-son beef from some sort of dark Yaldabaoth demiurge backstory, or obviously all of this will just be very loose. It's not going to be obvious, but I feel like this is somewhat of the direction. Yeah, I still think that as well, that Hooded Guy is a shadow self archetype. I get that as well. I think that they are going to be separate things. Clive, this dude, the Iron Kingdom feels more like Grigori, aka the prison of fallen angels, and Satanael is the prince of the Grigori. It kind of makes sense that if the Iron Kingdom, which of course Rosaria shared the crystal with, that if the Mother Crystal's power is depleting, that if there was some sort of prison, even if it is similar to Dalamud up in the sky, that was a prison, right? If that, as that's eventually faded, that's what's allowed for it to break out. And also what's really cool about all of this is that it happens at the point of the Rosaria attack, which is Sambrique making a violent play over the powers of immortality. And that's actually very cool because in the Islamic story it's much more direct, but that's kind of what happened, is that mankind were aspiring to be like God, and that's kind of when the devil stepped in. That's what the temptation of the apple was, right? And I can't remember, I haven't got all my notes with me, but there was a lot about immortality and how whenever humans go for it, bad shit happens. I think one of the other stories that happens is the Ark of the Covenant. You've got the warring tribes of Israel, and it's obviously in the Ark of the Covenant, it was theorized that there was secrets of immortality was there, and if one tribe tried to make an attack on the Ark, then bad stuff would happen. So, Joshua getting attacked, and this being the thing that is the catalyst, the emergence of the Dark Ifrit, the ultimate demon figure, Red Hooded Guy. Yes, very cool. Have we finished with this? There's more on Diablos. So Yoshida says, "Ooh, Diablos." I imagine he said it exactly like that. There was an idea early in development to have Ifrit kind of transform into Diablos somewhere in the game. But then it would have been too much like Devilman. So the idea was there. Hold up. I mean, if this game sells really well and we get a chance to make a sequel, maybe we could just cut out most of the story, just put in all of those different summons, and we don't really care what happens, just have a lot of different summons in there. Yo, that's very telling. That early in the game, there was an idea to have Ifrit turn into Diablos. And this is very cool, considering that in FF8, the Ifrits are what spawned the story of the genie, the 3 wishes, the genie lamp. And that's how you cage an Ifrit. You have to bind it to a magical item, and then the Ifrit has to give you, the Jinn has to give you wishes, but he'll try to screw you over with it. And that's why they made Diablos come out of a lamp in 8. I knew that there was that Ifrit Diablos association, and I could tell looking at some of these themes in 16 that there's some kind of association. To say, for Yoshi to say that that was an early idea, but they did away with it because it would come across a certain kind of way. That doesn't mean that they haven't transmuted it into something else. Yo, we're going roughly down the right avenues, I think. That is no mere coincidence. The main thing I liked about all of this, I said it was just the idea of division. Diaboloses divide with gravity magic. Zodiac divided the population as part of a sacrifice. Samael divided humanity with the 2 twins. Cain was the evil side that spawned demons, and Abel was the side that continued humanity. You have a world divided with nations. You had the tribes of Israel that were divided. There was this divide theme. That's juicy as hell, man. Diablos debunked. It's both debunked and it's also kind of supported. That's the thing. It's both. It's both. The fact that they thought about making Ifrit transform into another kind of demonic figure, that's more than enough, at least in my opinion, to support the possibility that Ifrit is going to turn into Zodiac, Chaos, Samael type thing. They just didn't want to go with Diablos because they thought it would be cliche because of whatever what is Devilman? Is that an anime? So they did away with it for that reason, but that doesn't mean that they've not kept the same story going. Yes. But then that just begs the question. So if Clive does become this demon thing, like, because is the demon thing on the box art, guys, the Diablos looking thing, do you think this is the same as the thing that they were fighting in the cosmogony? Because then obviously in the cosmogony it looked like it had Phoenix in the body. So is this thing just what the OG fire icon is, like before it was split? That got split at the battle because I had the obviously theory that God fought man, and the thing that allows man to become technologically evolved is fire. That is very thematically consistent and has been in Final Fantasy as well, and that this world has backpedaled into a medieval era from a far more technologically advanced. So after man fought the gods, they ripped apart the fire aspect, and that stopped man progressing. That backpedaled them. In which case, does that mean that Clive is going to become that again? So does that mean he has to, in some way, get Joshua's power? Obviously Joshua's trapped in this metaphysical state where he hasn't aged in a decade. We've seen that. It's in like this volcanic environment. Do you reckon that's where the Dark Ifrit has taken Joshua? Like he's ensnared Joshua, his power somewhere. And then when Clive goes and finds him, does he release his brother? Does he then get those powers? And then he has both the fire destructive aspect and the power over life merged into one. God began the creation from fire. That's it. It's just too powerful. It's both destruction and life, and something with the power of that has the power over life and death. And if Clive gets that by the end of this game, and he is able to make choices over life and death, that's going to be powerful stuff. And what would Clive do? Would he just selfishly choose the life aspect? Would he just try to save the people he's lost because he's burdened by that? Obviously, I think that the fact that he is burdened by people he's lost and he's on a mad revenge arc, that means he could use either aspect. If he has both fire aspects, he could burn the world, or he could squander it to try to bring back, and violate the laws of nature. Obviously, I think that Clive is going to have to wrestle with the temptation of that. I mean, look at the logo. Exactly right. All big one flame, Phoenix, Ifrit. I feel like that's where it's going. But obviously, let's go with the assumption that Clive does neither. He doesn't just burn the world. He doesn't just Thanos snap everything and burn half of it to keep resources going. Maybe he does do that. I don't know. Would that be too dark? If he had powers over life and death, and because the world is dwindling in resources, he did do what Zodiac did in Final Fantasy 14. What if he does become Zodiac, and that to keep the world going, you have to do a mass depopulation? I think that would be too dark. I thought Clive might go that way, but I feel like after him and Ben started, and then really talking about Clive being a hero, a great hero, that is his humanity, that is the strong part of Clive. I feel like obviously we're going to have Clive tempted with the loss of his humanity, but obviously he must follow through. His humanity must win. So I don't think the world's resolution is going to come with that. So what will the resolution be? Like he destroys the individual crystals, then he beats the main one, and what, that just resolves the world's issues? I feel like that's where it could go. I feel like I want it to be a bit more complex than that. I want it to be a bit something a bit different than that. It can have that theme, but... And then obviously what's also really cool about it, and this was one really fascinating detail about researching the tribes of Israel and what happened in those stories, because you had Abraham, Moses, and Joshua, which the book of Joshua was written from, and Joshua is the one who unifies the tribes. And he unifies the tribes by opening their eyes to worldliness. Worldliness is just basically materialism and frivolity, which we saw a lot in that stream just then. You know, them smoking the ether pipes, drinking ether beers and shit. And Joshua comes along into the story, and he opens humanity's eyes to that. And that's what kind of unifies these separate nations. But the tribes of Israel story happen in 4 different 500-year segments, and after Joshua's section, or very close to it, it went from being about prophets, which, you know, Moses and Abraham, they were sort of the prophets and the messiahs, and then it became more about your leaders and your revolutionaries, and then there was this period in the tribes of Israel where it became about the princes and the leaders of nations, young leaders of nations. And this was kind of cool, is obviously we have Sambrique that has Dion, a young prince. There's going to be, you have Jill, assumingly her nation and her family and her parents are dead. You have Clive, the young prince of Rosaria. Well, not prince. What is a prince of an archduke? Archprince. Archdude. He's the archdude. And I suppose you could say Barnabas as well, but say if Barnabas is taken out, because he's kind of taken over, he's tyrannically just conquered, wallowed.
We shared a dream. I would be the king of the world.
The darkness has taken hold of you. It has made you forget yourself.
We shared a dream. I would be the king of the world.
You could argue one of the rightful rulers of that place could be Sid, or even Benedicta. And then Hugo, obviously that's a republic. Hugo doesn't seem very democratic at all. But more or less, if Clive does form close-knit relationships, he's going to be forming relationships with all the world leaders, or the upcoming world leaders. And this happens in the book of Joshua. And that as the old kind of kings sort of fell out, like I imagine Dion's dad will, there's going to be an opportunity to create a new world. That could actually be kind of a cool resolution, I think. Clive forming personal relationship with the new world leaders, and after ending the mother crystals, because obviously they could still spiral into war. That's what kind of brings about a concrete unification at the end. Like Dion and Clive sipping pina coladas, Benedicta getting caught in the rain. Just like the ending's just all kind of like Caribbean chill, and just like writing up a manifesto of peace. Yes. Joshua being Jesus makes way too much sense. Yeah, so Joshua is actually a name for Jesus. Can't remember exactly what it was, but Joshua is what tees up the resurrection story, which obviously being Phoenix is pretty significant. What was Jesus? Yeah, Yeshua. Jesus, if his name was Yeshua, why do we call him Jesus? Actually, why do we? Some even go as far as to call him Jesus is blasphemous. Others go on to, the name is unbiblical because the letter J is a modern invention. There was no J in Greek or Hebrew. And it makes extra sense that Square Enix have this in the mind when you take into account that Rosaria, their banner, has little crucifixes on it. It has little crosses, 4 of them, on their banner. So they're definitely using the Book of Joshua. And yeah, considering that split into those phases of how the tribes of Israel kind of moved out of never-ending war via materialism, via unifying the leaders. Geez, I'm Jewish and I barely remember as much. Well done. The tribes of Israel story is actually really, really cool. And it actually talks about nation falling if you marry outside of your nation. That to do so is to betray your own nation, and that it would bring ruin and fire upon a nation. And you just got to think, like, wherever Annabelle's from, if she is from a different nation, Annabelle and Elwyn, and the fact that she betrays, because she's called traitorous, and the fact that brings literal fiery destruction to Rosaria, they're definitely using biblical arcs in 16. Because, yeah, marrying outside of your tribe, seen as evil, blasphemous. Part of that is also what they say brings back demons, because demons, they say, is when a demon, or the devil in some cases, as a child with a human, that's what brings about a demon. And I'm just like, so if we've got this demon theme with Clive, he is a demon, he's connected to a demon, what's going on with Elwyn? What's going on with Annabelle? What happened there? There's something that has created Clive. Oh, in Gnosticism, that after the goddess Sophia was cast up by Diabolos from heaven, she created Satanael to spread the word of not to be bound from the materiality of the world and fell the false god. Wow, so materialism appeared in that as well, in the Gnostic kind of chapters of it. Yeah, and somebody pointed out as well, I've said this before about like Clive's like logo, somebody kind of pointed out that it kind of like a Gnostic version of like the logos of Lucifer.
Thank you for watching this video, guys. Just come off of the PlayStation Showcase where more 16 is dropped. A few little details I was able to insert into this, but juicy frames. It was a very, very erratic, a lot going on in that trailer, but even more juice in the caboose that will be breaking down. Yeah, this next video definitely has some succulence in it. Give me a day or two to record it, but damn, there's just a bombardment of stuff to cover. We have had so much at 16, and it's really, really exciting. But thank you so much, guys, for making it all the way through to the end of the video. Thank you for giving me that good, juicy audience retention. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, let me know in the comment section below any thoughts, any theories, any speculates, any brain cannons, any of that triggered. This was very much on the fly, this last video. It's just a culmination of all the information I've stored up. And I already know just from post-editing that there's so much I'm missing out on. There's such an awesome, juicy weave going on in 16 story. And I think it's really going to add a richness to it, while also 16 bringing whole new fresh takes and ideas, slant angles and emotional mind blows that even I'm not expecting. But thank you so much, guys. And I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.